Okay. Hello. Can I start? Yeah. Thank you. ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञानगुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, from the 18th verse, which we started in the last session, the actual teaching of Kathopanishad has started. And in the 14th verse, in the first chapter and in the second valley, Nachiketa asked Yamadharmaraja, the Acharya, that what is that Atma? I know that after the death of the body, there is something which is left behind. And I also know that there is something which travels, the jiva, the traveling jiva, travels and takes another body and comes back again and again into that cycle of samsara. But I'm interested in knowing that thing which does not travel, that thing which is all the time there, that thing which is not affected by dharma or adharma, anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat, that which is not affected by the punyas and papas, and that which is not the karanam or karyam, that which is not the cause or effect, anyatra asmat krita akritacha, that which is neither the cause nor the effect of anything. It has not come from anywhere. It is not going to give rise to anything. That kind of a thing, which is absolutely asangaha, that which is absolutely nityam, which is all the time there. What is that thing? What is that Atma? It is as though Nachiketa knows that other than this traveling jiva, there is this consciousness, there is this Atma or Brahman, which is that which does not travel, that which is not affected by the traveling jiva, that which is not affected by the body mind sense complex. It seems as if Nachiketa has some idea about that particular thing, that which is called as Atma, and he's specifically asking Yamadharmaraja to know about that particular thing which is beyond the dharma and adharma, that which is not affected by any of these, that which is all the time there, that which does not travel. He only does not name it as Atma, but he asks for that thing. I want to know what is that. And from the 18th verse, actually, the actual teaching began. In the 15th and 16th verse, Bhagwan, that is our Acharya Yamadharmarara, started telling him about the various, sadhanas by which a Madhyama Adhikari or a Manda Adhikari can go to the level of understanding this. And he talked about the Omkara Vichara, Omkara Upasana and Omkara Vichara. But the actual teaching of what this Atma is started from the 18th verse. He does not give that the name as Atma, but he says that is one thing. In the 18th verse, he said, Najayate mriyate va vipaschita Nayam kutaschit na babhuva kaschit अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. That thing which you are asking for. See here, both Nachiketa as the Shishya, nor the teacher, the Acharya Yamadharmaraja, have actually mentioned the name called as Atma or Brahman. But we should understand that what they are talking about is nothing but this Atma, which Bhagavan Krishna talked about the Atma Swarupam from the 12th verse to the 25th verse in the second chapter. And this is exactly from where, from Kathopanishad, that Lord Krishna has taken Najayate Mriyate Va Kadachit, except for a few words here and there. It's exactly the same verse which was talked about. Which talked about what? This particular principle that which you are asking about, Hey Nachiketa, that Atma which you are asking about, though it is not named by Yamadharmaraja as Atma, that about which you want to know, Hey Nachiketa, that about which you are asking actually, that is nothing but the light of consciousness, Vipaschit. That is that consciousness which is the content of every jiva. And it is something which is neither born nor does it die, na jayate, na mriyate. So that which is not born, that which does not die, and therefore that which does not go through any of the other four changes or any of the four other vikaras that this the body mind sense complexes go through. So it is something which is nirvikari. It is ajam, unborn, that which does not die, that which does not undergo any of the six bhava vikaras, the shad vikaras, that is janma, asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. These six vikaras, they are not there in which. So that is something which is what? Ajaha, unborn, nityaha, that is eternal, shashvataha, for which there is no decay, no apakshaya, puranaha, that which does not have any growth, that there is neither any vardhanam or growth for that, nor is there any decay for that. That which is all the time remaining ever fresh the way it is, that we are asking. And that is the principle which is there in every body in the form of this light of consciousness. And what really gets destroyed, what changes, what is anityam is nothing but this body. It is this body mind sense complex which is constantly changing, which is anityam, which comes and goes. It is the jiva which is anitya, which comes and goes, which is all the time traveling, getting into different bodies. So it is the body mind sense complex ahankara which is actually changing, born, and the body dies, the Suksha Sharira travels. No such things are there for this principle, Vipaschita, for this consciousness principle. It is Ajaha, Nityaha, Shashvataha, Puranaha, Na Hanyate, Hanyamane Sharire. It is not afflicted by the body mind sense complex. The afflictions of the body mind sense complex do not affect this particular Atma, which is nothing but the content consciousness within this body mind sense complex. That was what was talked about in the 18th verse, the first teaching verse. And in the 19th verse, Acharya Yamadharmaraja said that it is something which is not a karta or a bhokta. So the first thing was what? It is nityam, it is shashvataha, it is puranaha, and that is something which is not born. At the same time, it is something which is not a karta, not a bhokta, because it is nirvikari. So he said in the 19th verse, Hanta chain manyase hantum, हतश्चेत् मन्यते हतम् उभौ तौ न विजानीतः नायं हन्ति न हन्यते. So if anybody thinks that I the Atma as the doer or I the Atma is the one who is hurt by somebody or killed by somebody, then both of them do not know. Here, just like Lord Krishna took the action of killing, this is also something which Lord Krishna has taken, na hanyate hanyamane sharire, and also that na hanti na hanyate. This verse also has been taken by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, to discuss about the akartritvam, abhoktritvam of Atma. And what it says here is that consciousness which is ajaha, nityaha, shashvataha is not the doer. Because this Atma is nirvikari, there are no vikaras in that, there are no changes in that. Therefore, there is no question of Atma being the Karta, no question of the Atma being the Bhokta. Then who is the Karta? The Ahankara is the Karta. Who is the Bhokta? The Ahankara is the Bhokta. Whereas Atma, this Vipaschit, this consciousness, is neither Karta nor Bhokta. So, Akartritvam, Abhoktritvam was talked about in the 19th verse. Now we'll go to the next verse, the 20th verse. Again, till the end of this particular Vali, the first chapter, second Vali, the Swarupam of Atma, Swarupam of Atma only is being talked about here. So, what does he say in the 20th verse? Again, Yamadharmaraja is talking about this. In the next verse, he talks about the Sarvagatatvam, or that which is all pervading Atma. This Atma, this consciousness is behind all the body mind sense complexes, all the jivas, and it is this consciousness which is behind every name and form in the universe. Whatever we see, whether it is the body mind sense complex of a jiva, whether it is any other name and form, whatever we see in the universe, in the Jagat outside, the content of it, the adhishtanam of it, the support of it is nothing but this Atma or consciousness. This Atma, this consciousness manifests as existence and consciousness in everything that is there in the Jagat, the smallest of the small and the largest of the large. Whatever is there in this Jagat, from the smallest, the tiniest, to the largest, whatever is there is nothing but pervaded by this Atma. So here, all pervasiveness of Atma or Sarvagatatvam of Atma is being talked about in the 20th verse. So, Sarva Adhishtana Swarupa of Atma. What is Adhishtana? That which is the very support, that which is the very content, that without which nothing can exist. It is the very existence of the entire universe. It is the very consciousness behind the entire universe. Nothing can exist without it. So, Sarva Adhishtana Swarupam of Atma is being talked about here in the 20th verse. Let us read that verse now. अणोरणीयान् महतो महीयान् आत्मास्य जन्तोर्निहितो गुहायां तम् अकृतुः पश्यति वीतशोकः धातुप्रसादान् महिमानम् आत्मनः. So what's the meaning of this? Anoho aniyan, mahatoho mahiyan, mahato mahiyan. That means the smallest of the small, anoho. Anu means what? Atom. Anoho aniyan. If there is anything which is smaller and subtler than even the atom, Mahato Mahiyan, if there is anything which is bigger than the biggest one can think of, the entire universe that one can think of, the biggest, whatever is the biggest, wherever my imagination can go as to the biggest thing, from the smallest of the small to the biggest of the big, that is pervaded by this existence, consciousness, Atma. That is why we say the earth is, the sky is, the tree is, I am, you are, she is, he is, you were, he was, it will be. Now, what is the meaning of that isness? Isness means what? There is an existence or the isness in everything that we see in this world, every name and form that we see in this world, every whatever we see in this world has an existence, and that existence is nothing but this Atma. So what does he say here? Anoho aniyan mahato mahiryan Atma asya jantoho nihito guhayam. Now we can say that if this entire universe is pervaded by this consciousness Atma, if the entire world is nothing but this Atma, why is it that I am not able to see it? Why is it that I am not able to experience it? Because it is so subtle, It is the consciousness which is so subtle that it is not possible for us to objectify it with our sense organs. It is the very subject itself. It is the very subject. It is me. I cannot objectify myself. I can see everything else in the world, but I cannot see myself. My eyes can see everything in the world, but the eyes cannot see themselves. So, what should I do if I have to see my eyes? If I have to see my face? If I have to see my eyes? I have to stand in front of a mirror, then only I can see. Similarly, Atma is nothing but my Swarupam. It is me myself. Therefore, I cannot see the Atma outside anywhere in the Jagat. Atma or this consciousness, being the very content, being the very Swarupam of myself, it is not an object of perception. We have already seen this in Bhagavad Gita. We have already seen this in Viveka Chudamani. Atma is not drishyam. Atma is not something that can be objectified. Then what is Atma? It is the very Drik Swarupa. It is the very knower consciousness. I know, I say. I, the Atma, I know. I know what? Whatever the whole world is. I know the whole world, but I do not see myself as an object as I objectify the whole world. Therefore, he says that this Atma, which is the very content of the smallest of the small, the biggest of the big, this Atma which is all pervading, everywhere it is there as the Adhishtana Swarupam of this entire universe, this is that consciousness existence which I cannot objectify as an object. But then where can I actually feel it, or where can I have the upalabdhi of it? Where is the upalabdhi sthana? Where is it that I can understand that this consciousness is I, this consciousness is me, my very swarupam is this very consciousness iti? Where can I find it? Where can I understand it? Where can I feel it? He says, jantoho nihito guhayam. It is available within me, in my heart only, as I am. All of us have got that experience of I am, I am. Nobody has to tell me you are. I am, it is I know. The knowledge that I know, I am, I am, I am. All of us know this. And this is that Atma. This is that consciousness which I can actually find in my own heart. So, jantoho nihito guhayam. That consciousness, which is the very content of every jiva's heart. That is what Ishvaraha Sarvabhutanam Hriddeshe He Arjuna Tishtati. Krishna said that in the 18th chapter. He said, this consciousness, this Brahman, this Ishvara is available as the ever pulsating I am in every Jantu. Jantu means what? Jayate iti Jantu. Therefore, even we human beings are Jantus only. Jantu does not mean an insect. Yes, for practical purposes, when we say Jiva Jantu, Jantu means, we talk about some insects and small animals and things. But no, anything which is born is called as a Jantu. So Jantoho Nihito Guhayam. It is that consciousness which is available for understanding. It is upalabdha, that means it is available for me to understand. It is available for me to perceive as the very knower consciousness within me. Jantoho nihito guhayam. Tam akratuhu pashyati vita shokaha. What is tam akratuhu? Tam means what? Tam atmanam pashyati. Where? Hridaya guhayam. In my own Hridaya guha, I can avail of that consciousness as ahamasmi, as I am. And who can say that? Akratuhu, a mind free from restlessness and distraction. Akratuhu, a mind which is free from distractions, a mind which is free from any kind of disturbances. Such a mind can see that Atmatam, पश्यति वीतशोकः धातुप्रसादात् महिमानात्मनः महिमानम् आत्मनः atmanah mahimanam. That means what? The greatness or the presence of this Atma in my own Hridaya Guha, in the form of that constant pulsating, you know, awareness, constant pulsating awareness. I am, I am, I am. Nobody has to tell me that. I am all the time. Every second I know I am. And that knowingness that I am, is that consciousness. It is that Atma. When I say, where is the Atma available? You say Atma is everywhere. It is the Adhishtanam of the whole universe. It is the existence of the whole universe. It is the consciousness behind the whole universe. Why then am I not able to see it? I am not able to see it because it needs a medium to reflect, like light. Light is there, it is there, but we are not able to see the light directly. We are able to make out that the light is there depending upon the objects that reflect it. Similarly, space is there. It is so subtle. We do not see the space as space, but because everything is in space, it provides opportunity for things to exist, even though we do not see the space, even though we do not see the light directly, we are aware that space is there, that light is there. Similarly, though we are not able to see this Atma as an object, as a subject awareness, as the subjective consciousness, it is all the time present in me in the form of I am, I am, I am. It is all the time there. So, tam atmanam, that Atma, who sees? Who sees it? A person who's akratuhu, a mind which is undistracted. And who else? Pashyati vita shokaha, the one who has managed his raga dveshas and shokas, the one without shoka, moha, raga dveshas. And dhatu prasadat mahimanam atmanaha. And dhatu prasadat means indriya prasadat, a person with shama and dama, a person with control of his sense organs, dhamma, and the control of the mind, shama, such a person, dhatu prasada, that means what? To even understand myself as that consciousness, I have to have the capacity to see myself as that Atma. And that can happen only when there is sufficient dhamma or indriya nigraha, dhatu prasada, means indriya prasada. All the indriyas should actually be quiet enough, the mind should be quiet enough. A shama damanvaya, a shama dama anvita adhikari. Shama damanvita adhikari is the only one, dhatu prasada. He can see or he can avail of that consciousness which is nowhere to be looked for outside, but that is that very subject consciousness which is nothing but me, my own swarupam. So, what is it? It is all pervading Atma. So, this is what the one who can see that this is this consciousness, Atma is the one which is the existence consciousness in the smallest of the small, Anoho Aniyan, biggest of the big, Mahato Mahiyan, and a person who has managed his ragadveshas, a person whose mind is not distracted, a person who has enough of shama and dama, he can very, very clearly see that Atma or avail of that Atma in his own Hridaya Guha. That means to understand myself as that Atma Swarupa, so much preparation is there. The sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is indirectly discussed here. Who is that person who can understand? Who is that person who can see that all pervading Atma is nothing but myself? This all pervading Atma Brahman is nothing but which is there within me, myself. Who can see that? A person who is prepared for this knowledge with Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga and with the Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. the one who has managed his ragadveshas, the one who has managed his indriyas and his mind properly, such is the person who is able to avail the Atmaswarupam none other than as himself. So, this is what he's telling in the 20th verse. Then, in the 21st verse, he says that in the next verse, it is to say that Atma is not located anywhere. In the next verse, in the 21st verse, he wants to say, Yamadharmaraja, the Acharya wants to say that this Atma is not located anywhere. It is something which is all pervading. See, if Atma is located, it becomes limited. Atma has already been described as eternal, unlimited. It is given as something which is absolutely infinite. Atma is infinite. It is infinite existence and consciousness. Therefore, it is not something that is located. It is not limited by time, not limited by space, not limited by other objects. And so he puts it in a very, very different way, saying that Atma is a non traveling Chaitanyam. It does not move, it does not travel because it is all pervasive. We have seen in the previous verse, Atma is all pervasive. When Atma is all pervasive, there is no way it can travel anywhere. So, this Atma, which is the Chaitanyam, is something which does not travel. It is something which is non traveling. Then, when I move, when I travel, when I sit, when I stand, when I move, what is it that moves? If Atma is not moving, what is it that moves? It is the reflection of Atma in my mind called as the Chidabhasa. We already have studied what Chidabhasa is in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We have already seen what is this Chidabhasa Ahankara in Vivek Chudamani also. So you can say that for the time being, let us say that there are two things here. That is this Chaitanyam or Atma Vipaschita, or this Chaitanyam or existence consciousness Atma, and this Atma getting reflected in the buddhi of every jiva and forming a Chidabhasa. It is the reflected consciousness or the Chidabhasa along with the buddhi, along with the Sukshma Shariram, which is called as the Ahankara or the Jiva. So, what is it that is sitting, standing, moving, running, whatever is there happening? It is the jiva, it is the reflection of the consciousness. We can say reflected consciousness, but we have to be very careful. There are no two consciousnesses. There is one consciousness, Chaitanyam, which gets reflected in the buddhi of every jiva, and this reflection of consciousness is called as the jiva or the chidabhasa. So what is it that moves? What is it that sits? What is it that changes its position? It is nothing but chidabhasa. Actually, this consciousness does not move at all. When I say I'm going from here to there, I have traveled from there to here. What is traveling? What is moving? It is not the Atma, it is the Chidabhasa which is moving. Actually speaking, I, the Atma Swarupa, being all pervasive, being nirvikari, being changeless, does not move, does not travel. Then what moves? It is the Chidabhasa, Ahankara or Jiva is along with this body, mind, sense complex. It is the reflection of that consciousness which we call as the Jiva, which we call as Chidabhasa, which we call as Ahankara. That is what is moving. Therefore, when I say I am going, actually I, the consciousness, is not going. It is the Chidabhasa which is going, it's the Jiva which is going. It is the reflection of the consciousness along with this body, mind, sense complex which is going. When I say I am coming, it is not the Atma which is coming or going, it is the Chidabhasa Jiva which is coming and going. Therefore, what he wants to say here is, Yamadharma Raja wants to say, what he wants to say here is that Ultimately, what moves is not the Atma. This traveling is happening because of only the Jiva. It is the Jiva which travels. The Atma does not travel. Therefore, during waking, it looks as though it travels. What is traveling? As though traveling. It is the Jiva, it is the Chidabhasa which is traveling. Therefore, he says, he puts it in a very, the Yamadharmaraja puts it in a very funny way. He says, Asino duram vrajati, Shayano yati sarvataha, Kastam madam devam, Madanyo jnatumarhati. So he says, Asinaha duram brajati. Asinaha. I'm sitting, but it looks as if this Atma is sitting, as if it is traveling. Shayano yati sarvataha. I'm lying down, but it is everywhere there. So it looks as if it is the consciousness which is moving, which is traveling from here and there. Asinaha. I'm sitting here. So can I say the consciousness is sitting? No, it is the jiva, it is the reflection of consciousness which is sitting, but consciousness or Atma being everywhere, it looks as if it is this Atma which is traveling, which is somewhere else also. Shayano yati sarvataha. So, as if when I'm sleeping, when I'm lying down, I say, I'm lying down, I'm sleeping. The consciousness is not lying down, but the consciousness or Atma is that which is all pervading, which is everywhere. Kaha kastam madamadam devam. That consciousness which is beyond, that is madamadam, means that which is beyond harsha and shoka. I say I am happy. I say I am unhappy. But what is the meaning of this? Am I the consciousness happy or unhappy? Am I the consciousness moving here and there? Am I the consciousness sitting now and talking to you? No, I, the consciousness, is all pervading. And I means who? It is the Chidabhasa, the Jiva with the body mind sense complex, which is now talking to you. And you, the Jivas, are listening to me. But it is one consciousness within this body mind sense complex, within all your body mind sense complexes, which is all the time there, which is everywhere. Therefore, it looks as if when I am moving, it looks as if the consciousness is moving. When I am coming, it looks as if the consciousness is coming. When I am sitting, it looks as if the consciousness is sitting. When I am walking, it looks as if the consciousness is walking. But what he wants to say here is, it is not this consciousness, Atma, which is sitting or lying down or traveling. This Chaitanya Atma is not going anywhere, not coming anywhere. It does not travel. What travels is only the reflection of this consciousness in the form of Chidabhasa. That is the one which is actually walking or doing or whatever it is. And where is this particular Chidabhasa? There it is in the buddhi. Therefore, when the mind is active, because of the active mind, because of the active body, it looks as if the change in position, change in time, change in place is happening in Atma. But then no change whatsoever is happening in the Atma. And who is it that is affected by Harsha and Shoka? Mada Amadam means Harsha and Shoka. Who is afflicted by Harsha Shoka? Not I, the consciousness. It is the Jiva. It is the mind which is afflicted by Harsha Shoka. Kastam Madamadam Devam Madanyo Jnatumarhati. So here Yamadharma Raja says, who else but me can know this consciousness? Now you may wonder why Yamadharmaraja is saying Madanyo Nyatumarhasi Kaha Kaha Tam Devam Nyatumarhati. Who can know this Deva or this effulgent light of consciousness other than me? Who can know this? He's saying. What is the meaning of me here? Here Yamadharmaraja is talking on behalf of all the jnanis. other than me, madanyaha, other than me, other than jnanis like me, who can know this consciousness. And those who know this consciousness can only talk about it or give it as an instruction to others. So, what he's saying is, it's one way of saying that mad anyaha kaha jnatum arhati tam madamadam devam. That light of consciousness, which does not move, which does not travel, but appears to travel, appears to sit, appears to go, appears to come because of the movement of the body mind sense complex. Really speaking, it is not moving, it is not traveling, it is only the Abhasa Chaitanyam or Chidabhasa which is traveling. And it is this consciousness which is without any harsha, without any shoka, because it is not karta, it is not bhokta. Therefore, it is not subject to sukha and dukkha. Mada amadam, harsha shoka rahita tam atmanam, madanyaha, other than me, Kaha jnatumarhati. Who can know this? By saying this, what he's saying, he's not trying to blow his own trumpet. Yamadharmaraja is not trying to show off himself. He's not saying, other than me, who can know? Only I know. He's not saying that. What he's saying is, other than jnanis. Instead of saying jnanis, he said, other than me. So we can take it that Yamadharmaraja is a jnani who has understood what this Atma is. So Madanyaha means other than a jnani, other than a Brahmanishta, who can know this Atma. So that is the nature, that is the one of the features, another feature of the Atma. So what did we see? How many Swarupams of Atma did we see? That is Ajaha, Nityaha, Shashvataha, Puranaha we saw in the 18th verse. Akartritvam, Abhoktritvam we saw in the 19th verse. Sarvagatatvam, all pervasiveness we saw in the 20th verse. In the 21st verse, we saw that it is this consciousness which is beyond Harsha Shoka. It is this consciousness which does not move, which does not travel. Then what is this Atma? Where is it available? Is it embodied? Is this Atma embodied? If it is all pervasive, no. This Atma is not even embodied. It is ultimately the consciousness which is behind every body mind sense complex. The body mind sense complex does not actually restrict or limit the Atma. That is what he wants to say here. It is available in the body also. It is available everywhere. It is available in the body of every jiva also. It does not mean that it is restricted or limited by the body mind sense complex. But it is also, since it is all pervasive, it is also available. It is also found in every body mind sense complex of every jiva. So, where is it found in the body mind sense complex of the jiva? He says in the 22nd verse, अशरीरं शरीरेषु अनवस्थेषु अवस्थितं महान्तं विभुम् आत्मानं मत्वा धीरो न शोचति. So, what is this Atma? Ashariram. This Atma is not embodied as it is all pervasive. This Atma is not limited by a particular body mind sense complex. It is Ashariram. Atma does not have a form, it does not have a shape, it does not have a body. Atma does not have a Sthula Shariram. Atma does not have a Sukshma Shariram. Atma does not have a Karana Shariram. Atma does not have any Panchakoshas. Therefore, it is what? Ashariram. It is that consciousness which has no shape, size, or form, Ashariram. But where is it found? Sharireshu. In every jiva's body, mind, sense complex, it is the very content of consciousness. It is the very content which is consciousness. Now, let us take an example of pots and space. There are multiple vessels, there are plenty of vessels, and in those vessels, we find the same space. Can we say that the space is limited by the pot? It is not limited by the pot. It is that common space, Samanya Akasha, which is also available in an open vessel. It does not mean that the space is embodied. It does not mean that the space is limited by this particular vessel. So if there are 100 pots of clay, or if there are 100 vessels, and we find space in all the 100 vessels, does it mean that these 100 vessels are limiting the space? They are not limiting the space. Incidentally, the space which is all pervasive is available within every vessel also. Every vessel has the same space in it. That is what is going to be told here. Ashariram. This Atma has no body, no sthula sukshma karana shariram, but sharireshu शरीरेश अनवस्थेषु अवस्थितम् अशरीरं शरीरेषु अनवस्थेषु अवस्थितम्. That means anavastheshu, constantly changing body. There is no avastha there. What is this sharira? Where there is no proper avastha. Anavastheshu avasthitam. In this body which is constantly changing. In this body mind sense complex which is constantly changing. This Atma is available. Like the space is available in all the open vessels which are there, similarly, this Atma is also available in all the Shariras. Anavastheshu avasthitam. Sharireshu anavastheshu sharireshu avasthitam. That means what? That is not limited by the Sharira. That Shariram which is constantly changing. The Upadhi is constantly changing. And in this constantly changing Sharira, as the content, like the content of the space in various vessels, the content consciousness is available, just as it is available everywhere, in every Sharira, in every changing Sharira, in every modifying Sharira, Anavastheshu Sharireshu. That means what? A Sharira which has no constant avastha, which is constantly changing. In such a constantly changing Sharira of every Jiva, this consciousness is avasthitam. It is there all the time. Mahantam vibhum atmanam matva dhiro na shochati. Knowing this consciousness, Mahantam, knowing this infinite Atma, because Atma is infinite, Atma is eternal. Therefore, it cannot be the content only of this body mind sense complex. The body mind sense complex changes, the body dies, the Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, called as the Jiva, it travels. But then this consciousness is everywhere. In this constantly changing body mind sense complex, this changeless Atma is available as the very content. And what is that Atma? Not limited by the body mind sense complex. Mahantam. It is infinite consciousness. It is everywhere. It is all pervasive. It is not limited by the body. Mahantam Vibhum, that which manifests as the whole universe, Vibhu, that consciousness existence which manifests as the entire universe, Vibhum, Atmanam Matva. Having understood this Atma to be that infinite Atma, that Atma which manifests itself into the entire universe, but it is that very same infinite, eternal, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Atma, which is also the content of this body mind sense complex. Though this body mind sense complex is changing constantly, I, this Atma, the content of this body mind sense complex is never changing. I am that never changing content consciousness, not the changing body mind sense complex. Therefore, anavastheshu sharireshu avasthitam matva. Having known that this consciousness is that which is present also in this body. It is present everywhere at the same time in this constant changing body also. It is the very adhishtanam, it is the very content of this ever changing body mind sense complex, but unlimited by this body mind sense complex. Iti matva, knowing this, understanding, dhiraha na shochati, such a jnani, a person of such an understanding, never suffers. Such a jnani never suffers any kind of a shoka, because whatever shoka is there, whatever moha is there, whatever unhappiness is there, whatever happiness is there, is at the level of the upadhi body mind sense complex. I, the Atma, though the content of this ever changing body mind sense complex, I, this Atma, is not limited by this body mind sense complex. I, this Atma, is not tainted by the body mind sense complex. I am the Asanga Atma. I am the unlimited Atma, not limited in any way by the body mind sense complex. Knowing this Matva, Dhiraha, this Jnani, na shochati, does not undergo the ups and downs of samsara, does not undergo the dukkham of samsara. Now, in the next one or two verses, we have another three verses in this chapter. Let's see whether we can finish. We may not be. In the next, he talks about certain sadhanas to know this. And in the next two verses, in the 23rd verse and the 24th verse, I think we did the 22nd verse, Ashariram Sharireshu. In the 24th and 24th verse, Yamadharmaraja talks about, what are the other sadhanas which are absolutely necessary in knowing this Atma. In the 23rd verse, he talks about Tivra Mumukshutvam. Tivra Mumukshutvam, a desire to know the Atma. Without that Tivra Mumukshutvam, a casual interest in Atma Jnanam, or a mere listening to this Atmajnanam without commitment, without continuing to listen for whatever time it is necessary. Most important thing is mumukshutvam. So he brings about that sadhana of the four sadhana chatushtaya sampattis, mumukshutvam, or a deep interest or a deep commitment to knowing what I am, as the most important sadhana. It is said in our scriptures what should be the extent or the intensity of mumukshutvam for a mumukshu. It is said, supposing my hair catches fire, say my hair catches fire, whatever water is there anywhere, I will go and dip my head in it, isn't it? I'm not bothered whether it is clean water, whether it's dirty water, whether where it is, what time it is, nothing. If I if I'm caught by fire, immediately what is my reaction? To find wherever whatever my water is and to dip myself into it. So our scriptures say mumukshutvam should be that tivra. Means what? A casual kind of a listening or a casual dabbling in Atmajnanam is not going to give me the benefits. That's what he wants to say. One has to have the tivra mumukshutvam, a committed desire to know the Atma and to do what is necessary for it, to listen to the Shastra, Shravanam, for a consistent period of time through a proper Acharya, through a Guru, by a Guru, involvement with the Shastra, and continuously, not just once in 15 days or once a month, just listen to something, once a week, just listen to a particular lecture and then forget it. No, commitment to be with the Shastra day in and day out for a maximum part of the day, so that this particular knowledge becomes very easily assimilable to me, that which can be assimilated easily. So, what he says here is, you may listen to the Shastra, you may have understood the Vedas and you might be chanting the Vedas, you may be doing the Veda Parayanas. They're all good sadhanas, listening, chanting the Vedas and then committing the Vedas to the memory. All these things are good, there's nothing wrong in that. But then, if one has to have the benefit of moksha, If one has to have the benefit of Atmajnana, then one has to have Tivra Mumukshutvam. So, Mumukshutvam is what is going to be talked about in the 23rd verse. And how does he put it? He says, Nayamatma pravachanena labhyaha na medhaya na brahu bahuna shrutena yame vaisha vrunute tena labhyaha तस्यैष आत्मा विवृणुते तनुं स्वाम. So he says here, na ayam atma pravachanena labhyaha. Pravachana here means study of the Vedas, chanting of the Vedas, chanting of the Vedic mantras. Here pravachana does not mean talking about it. Here pravachana means, a person who has you know learned to chant the Vedas. It is a very, very good sadhana. It gives me the preparedness of the mind to go into this. There is no doubt about it. Therefore we cannot you know sort of neglect this. Parayanam is very necessary. Veda parayanam, bhashya parayanam, which we are doing, it is very necessary. But what he says is, without mumukshutvam, a mere parayana will not help me to gain the benefit of this knowledge. So, na ayam atma pravachanena labhyaha. Mere chanting of stotras, mere chanting of Vedas, mere chanting of the bhashyas may not be sufficient for me to gain the benefit of Atmajnanam. Na medhaya na bahuna shrutena. Na medhaya. By committing the Vedas to memory, by trying to have the grahana shakti and dharana shakti. Medha means what? Grahana shakti, dharana shakti. That I can chant all the Vedas. I am a Dvivedi, I am a Trivedi, I am a Chaturvedi. Good, nothing wrong. I can chant the Vedas. I can chant all the mandalas of Rig Veda. I can, give any reference from anywhere. I can chant the whole Vedas from this side to that side to this side. I can be a Ghana party. I can be a Krama party. I can be a Ghana party. I can be anything. But that alone is not sufficient. That's what he's saying. Na medhaya means I may keep the whole Vedas may be in my memory. My grahana shakti of the Vedas may be good. My dharana shakti may be very good. I may be able to chant the Vedas. I may be able to chant the bhashas. Everything I may be able to. Na bahuna shrutena. I may be casually listening. Years together I may listen. I've been listening to, there are people who say, I've been listening to Vedanta for the last 30 years. I've been listening to Vedanta for last 40 years. How have you listened to it? Is it just a casual listening? Or is there really that mukshutvam, that this is all what I want? Supposing God appears, Ishvara appears, our Ishtadevata appears in front of us and asks me, what is it that you want? What will I say? Will I say, I want, Putraishana, Vittaishana, and Lokaishana, or will I ask for moksha? Supposing the similar thing like what happened to Nachiketa, so many things Yamadharmaraja offered. But then ultimately, what was Nachiketa's stand? I want only Atmajnanam, I want nothing else. This is the sign of Tevra Mumukshutvam. Therefore, it is very, very valid that Yamadharma Raja is telling here that you may know all the scriptures very well. You might have committed the scriptures to memory. You may be doing all the, whatever yagas and yajnas that the Veda Purvas have told you. Good, very good. There is nothing wrong. But this is not going to be sufficient enough to get the advantage of this knowledge of Atma. न मेधया न बहुना श्रुतेन यमेवैष वृणते तेन लभ्यः. The one who chooses Atma, the one who chooses Moksha Purushartha, the one who has done the Moksha Purushartha Nishchaya, that what I want is Shreyas, not Preyas. Under any circumstances, what I want is Shreyas and not Preyas. Iti. If I have determined and if I am completely committed that I want nothing other than Shreyas, I want nothing other than Atmajnana, I want nothing other than moksha. If this is what I have committed, only to such people Atma reveals itself. Teshat, he says, Yame Vaishya Vrinate. Vrinate means choose. Varanam. Varanam means what? Choose. I have to choose the Purushartha. Do I want Dharmartha Kama Purushartha or do I want the Moksha Purushartha? Yame Vaishya Vrinate Tena Labhyaha. The one who chooses Atma Jnanam, the one who chooses moksha as the primary or the only Purushartha, tasya yesha Atma vivrinate tanugam swam. To such a person, this Atma reveals itself in its true form. What is the meaning of that reveals itself? Means what? This person is able to understand what this Atma is in its true form, in the way it has to be understood. Then, what are the other sadhanas that are necessary for this knowledge to happen? That is what is told in the 24th verse here. Na virato duscharitat, na ashanto na asamahitaha, na shantamanaso vapi, prajnanenainamapnuyat. So what he says, there are other things also necessary. Na avirato duscharita. This Atmajnanam is never benefiting a person who is not leading a dharmic life. A person who is leading an adharmic life can never get the benefit of Atmajnana. Na avirataha duscharitat. The one who has not withdrawn himself from adharma, for such a person, this knowledge is not going to help. Na ashanto na asamahitaha. For a person who does not have Shama and Dama, other sadhana chatushtaya sampatti also comes here. Mumukshuttam was talked about in the 21st, 23rd verse. In the 24th verse, the other aspects of sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, that is Shamadhi Shatka sampatti, is talked about. A person who doesn't have the values that were talked about by Lord Krishna in the 13th chapter, Daivi Sampatti that was talked about in the 16th chapter, a person who does not lead the life of dharma, a person who has not withdrawn from adharma, such a person cannot get benefited by this knowledge. Ashantaha na asamahitaha. A person who does not have indriya nigraha dama and mano nigraha shamaha, such a person also cannot benefit by this knowledge. Na ashanta manaso vapi. Again, ashanto manasa vapi means a person whose mind is not brought under a nigraha by upasana, one pointedness. One whose mind is not brought to one pointedness to learn the Shastra Vapi, Prajnanena Yenam Apnuyat. So, this Atma, Atma Jnanam, Prajnanena Yenam Apnuyat. This knowledge cannot be got by such people. Prajnanam, this knowledge is not beneficial to people. Therefore, in the 23rd verse and 24th verse, the sadhanas that are necessary for Atmajnanam to be useful, to be helpful, to be beneficial has been talked about in the form of Mumukshutvam in the 23rd verse and Shama, Dama, Samadhanam and following the life of Dharma has been talked about in the 24th verse. And of course, we have only one verse, the last verse of this particular Valli, where Atma is going to be discussed in the form of the resolution ground of the whole universe as the Srishti, Sthiti, Laya Karanam of this entire universe, which we don't have time enough today, which we'll take up in the next session and then immediately go to the third Valli of the first chapter in the same session. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च